always been inspired by Margaret Mead's quote, and I actually did write it down just in case so I didn't mess it up. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Today we're recording this today on Earth Day, and I'm very much inspired by Greta Thunberg. She, 16-year-old who really brought the world's attention to the issue of climate change. And it's one of the things that I really try to teach my son and talk to other people about, is that small actions by individuals or small groups can create change and help change the world. So that's why I'm very much inspired by Greta, and I really hope that small changes that we're all doing can really change the world, and encourage others to change their behaviors.
I'd have to say my mom, but my mom went back to nursing school when I was trying to think about this, and I actually should have called her and asked her, but I think I was either 11 or 12. So she had say I was 12. She had a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and she went back to nursing school. She taught us all this great work ethic. We used to joke and say, oh yeah, if mom's right arm was hanging off, should still be going to work, because it was that important to her, what she was doing. I think it was more of a, nursing is a vocation more than just a job. But yeah, she really stressed to us the importance of doing a good job and, showing up when you're expected and just doing the right thing.
So I have gotten to spend a lot of time with my daughter over these last couple weeks. She is called the boss, and she's called the boss for a reason. She knows how she wants it, and she is not afraid to tell you. And I have just been totally in awe with how she has handled this situation. She's at times much more resilient and graceful about it than I have been. But spending so much time with her has been really refreshing. It reminds me about sort of the unshakable childlike confidence that she has, that so many of us have gotten away from, and sort of giving into our creativity and curiosity as well. It's been pretty awesome.
My mom, Maureen Ridge, is probably my biggest inspiration. She is a recently retired union organizer and worked for decades on behalf of low-income workers and fighting for rights, for union rights and workers' rights and pay equity. And she not only did that work, but she also was a single parent of 3 kids, and she raised us under difficult circumstances in terms of financially, but she did it with a sense of humor and successfully, I feel like. And also with art. She's an artist, and it's something that I've gotten to have in my life. That's wonderful that she's given to all of us. So that she's probably one of my most inspiring figures.
I feel like I'm surrounded by a lot of inspirational women and family members and community members and colleagues who are women who inspire me. And the reason they inspire me is because, not only because of their grit and determination, and because they're all, successful in their own right, but because they're also kind and supportive. But I did have one boss a very, very long time ago before I decided to go into law. I was a medical assistant in a small doctor's office in Brookline, and there's this little, and I mean little woman, she's 5'2". Her name was Dr. Sally Roth, and I worked for her for several years. And then I went to go check out law school and see what that was about. And she gave me a few words of wisdom. And one thing that she said to me, and it's always stuck with me, she said, don't be afraid to, push the boys to the side and just do what you need to do. And so I've always kind of carried the image of this very short woman who was in medical school at the time, where she was one of maybe a handful of women, kind of elbowing her way to get to the medical exam table.
I'd have to say my grandmother, because she's 90. She'll be 90 years old this July. Also, she's so wise, and I mean, granted, if you live 90 years, you're going to become wise one way or another, but just listening to all her stories growing up and knowing everything that she's been through and has been so resilient. And so she always holds herself in her morals. And sometimes it's hard to see that in people and to see that in life. And she gave me a really good example of that. And she also I feel like she's the reason why she built the kind of resourceful person that I am. She was always kind of forcing me to like look into more. If I have a question, learn, ask questions, be curious. She would always encourage that. And she's just been an amazing example of what a human is, being considerate of everybody, always giving, very generous. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're right, you're right. And I also just appreciate that old school mentality of how, there's always a certain way to do things. There's a certain way to talk to people. There's a certain way to work. And then ultimately, my go-to line is, if you're gonna do a job, you better be the best thing at it. Even if you're a garbage man, your jobs that may not seem glamorous, but whatever it is, you better do it well, because that reflects you as a person. So those are things that I learned from her, and I think inspired me to be the individual that I am now.